So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Jamie and I'm the engagement lead at Meal Exchange's national office. I'm a settler currently residing in Toronto on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. Today, across so-called Canada, we commemorate Orange Shirt Day. Orange Shirt Day honors the experiences of residential school survivors, their families, and ancestors who are still impacted today, every day, and especially as we were having conversations around land and food justice and food systems, we have a responsibility to recognize the harmful impact that these racist and colonial institutions have had and continue to have on Indigenous peoples across the country. With that reflection in mind, and I hope we can continue it going forward from today, but I'll take you through a bit of what you can expect from our presentation today. So we'll start with a bit of a project overview on the Communal Lunch Project and how it originated. Then we'll take you through what to expect from the project this year and how you can get involved. As you can probably expect, a Communal Lunch Project takes a different form during a pandemic. So we'll run you through some virtual events you can get involved with, as well as our learning platform. And then I'm really excited for you to get the chance to meet 6 amazing student leaders who I have the honor of working with. They'll introduce themselves. They're the leaders of this project. And you'll get a chance to share your input and give your voice to what this project becomes. It's really at its inception, and it's student voice that is going to carry this forward. And we'll wrap up at the end with how you can get involved and stay in touch with us. So I'll pass it over to Jennifer to do a project overview.
All right. Hello, everyone. And welcome to this introduction of the Communal Lunch Project. This project has roots in my experience with disease and grew out of the work I did for an MA in Theatre and Performance Studies at York University. Very quickly, when I was diagnosed with cancer and began treatment, I started a blog to share what I was learning about food with others who were trying to navigate their way through treatment and recovery. I eventually needed to leave the cancer space, which included blogging, and it was when I returned to teaching at George Brown College. In fact, it was during one of my English classes, I remember clearly the moment and the students, that I realized these were the people I needed to work with. They needed access to better food and a way to develop food knowledge to cope, not necessarily with disease, but with everyday life. So I tried to write different proposals for different funding bodies, each aiming to build a better way to eat on campus, but I encountered many roadblocks, as have so many others. So I was having tea with a friend one day and sharing my frustration with failed attempts. And she asked me if I realized that whenever I talk about food, I often use performance theory language. She had recently graduated from a performance MA. I didn't realize this. I knew very little about performance theory at the time. So fast forward, I began an MA in Theatre and Performance Studies at York University with one foot in the Environmental Studies department. And here I was exposed to performance as a tool for activism. Performance offers a suggestion or a demonstration of doing things a different way. Jamie, can we go to the quote? So this was a quote, this was early in my education. The objective is not to like or even understand performance art, but to create a sediment in the audience's psyche. This is by Guillermo Gomez Peña, who is a performance artist. And his words, you know, the performance did not have to be virtuosic or even good. It was more important that it made the audience think. So I attended performances, read about many others, and they inspired me and set me on what has been a 3-year experiment with students performing lunch on campuses. The first project was an independent study with York University and George Brown, and began as an examination of how students' eating habits are affected by their environment. And I'm speaking specifically of the spaces in which they circulate, but also the schedules that often limit them. And I wanted to challenge the starving student ideology, that too broke, too busy performance, which is a performance that's gone on for far too long. Because a powerful food industry is standing by to take our money to temporarily solve our time and money problems, but this keeps us in a state of dependence or consumerism instead of building our capacity to collectively produce. So the goal was to develop a framework that could enable students to start, not soon, but now, working together to collectively care for themselves while they are students. To that end, the project has been an attempt to perform a different way of doing lunch on campus. The framework, which is simple, provides a space for students to develop and enact their food knowledge and connect with each other over a slow, healthy meal in the middle of their busy days, and put them in the role of producer. We've also noticed from our lunches that there's an environmental impact as well. We make very little waste. So these pictures, the one on the right, it's a very long table. This was one of the first events that we held at George Brown College for Healthy Campus Week. And what we did was we did create a performance. We pulled a bunch of tables together, laid them with a tablecloth. We worked on this for several weeks with a group of 9 students who helped envision, create the space, create the menu, and cooked the meal for 4 hours each morning. And then they took turns putting on an apron with the word lunch embroidered across it, which I'm wearing right now, but I'm not sure you can see. So it had this clowning aspect. It gave them permission to walk up to strangers in the food court and ask them to join us for lunch. So this picture that you're looking at was a table in one of those, fluorescent lit basement food courts. And around us were tables of other students, and they might have had lunch from home, but there might have also been McDonald's, Tim Hortons, or Pizza. And we were all in the same space performing this lunch, but it was fluid. So students were watching, but were also invited to perform. That experiment, we had a great response, and students talked about the food, but what kept coming up was that the sociality of that space that we created with that food at the table. So on the strength of that, we launched a pilot project, and what you see on the left is that. So what we did is we would take a menu every week, we would break it down into small manageable parts. Students would sign up, choose an ingredient, show up on the day of our lunch. We would grab maybe 2 tables, wipe them down, put down a tablecloth. Everyone would bring their ingredient, and collectively we would build these wonderful lunches. I brought compostable bowls and cutlery, and we would pause. And it was always a different group, and sometimes students knew each other. Many of them didn't, and so it was a really interesting sort of family meal with strangers. So the pilot project was successful, and it's now been launched as an official lunch project at George Brown College. So on the strength of this, I applied for a research grant through NSERC, which is a National Research Council, and in March I found out that I'd received funding. This was exciting because the funding meant that we could develop the project and extend its reach beyond George Brown by working with Meal Exchange and Jashna Maharaj, an organization and a chef who've been doing incredible work in this space for many years. And I'm thrilled that this project can add another tool to encourage food literacy and agency. Funding also meant that we could hire students to become project assistants and student researchers and carry out the really important work on each campus. Then, of course, COVID-19 pandemic changed everything, which made the news of this grant also sad because we could not develop this project on campuses in person this year as classes have moved online. So like everyone else, we've pivoted. A positive outcome of this shift to an online format, which Jamie is about to introduce you to, is that we've been able to hire more students early in the project, and these students are from campuses across Canada. You'll be hearing from these incredible student leaders shortly. And that's the story. Well, chapter 1, at least. It's up to all of you to write the next chapters. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. It's really exciting to hear the origin and what's been able to be accomplished at George Brown and hopefully to bring to the rest of the country. So I'm going to go through a bit about what you can expect from the Lunch Project this year. So the Lunch Project will obviously be meeting students where they're at, which is online at this time. We've been working really hard over the last few months to create an online space that focuses on this communal and celebratory element of food and also facilitates some knowledge building around food. We know at Meal Exchange that this is really important because of how the industrial food system and all the things that go along with that has led to this broader disconnection around food and a loss of food literacy. Unfortunately, the website is not quite ready for you all to see today, but we're really excited to launch that in a couple of weeks. The two key elements for students to engage with on the website are our virtual events and the learning platform. So I'll leave it to the amazing Joshna Maharaj to speak to the Learn section a bit more after I talk a bit about the events. But essentially that space will feature food content for and by the student population across Canada, which is something that doesn't currently exist on a large scale. So before passing off to Joshna, I can chat a little bit about what you can expect from virtual events this year. Essentially, a virtual lunch event is a small group discussion hosted on Zoom by one of our awesome student leaders. Each lunch is an opportunity to build community and connection with other students through the medium of food. The beautiful thing I think about these spaces is that you can just come as you are. You didn't need to read a reading to come to it. Just bring some food, whatever you have time to grab, whether it's a granola bar or you made breakfast or you made breakfast for dinner or you made an amazing curry. Just bring some food to enjoy and connect with others. Discussions will be facilitated in these spaces, but spontaneity and fun are also key values to making these events meaningful for students and accessible. There are so many ways I think that students come to the table in our discussions with food, whether that's through their food culture, their health or well-being interests, or their activism. So these events are really meant to explore the many and diverse ways students connect with food and to celebrate those and to create space where hopefully students can build their food knowledge and food literacy and be empowered about how they came to the table and understand how it connects to the wider food system. So how do you get involved in one of these awesome events? Each week there will be lunches held at a variety of times. We have students from across the various time zones, so hopefully we'll have a wide set of lunches or dinners folks can join, or mid-afternoon snack if that's your vibe. You can expect events from us as soon as mid to late October once our website launches, and these will be continuing weekly throughout this school year, probably taking a break for certain holidays and things like that. But we'll also, on that note, plan to host special or thematic events for different holidays, so you can keep your eyes out for those, and that will have a bit more coordination around the kinds of foods we share together. Yeah, so that's enough from me. I'm happy to pass it off to Joshna to talk a bit more about the Learn platform. Go for it.
Amazing, thank you. Hello, everybody. Very exciting to be here and to share this with you. I feel like Jennifer and I have had many cups of coffee and conversation about putting this together with a very different dream than the one that has actually been realized. But I will say, after we have been looking at, final versions of the website and watching this gorgeous thing come together, we are really, really excited about the resource and the tool that we have put together for you. So because we don't have as much in-person contact involved this session or this time around, we've really decided to invest in this learning platform and this learning section of the page. So the kinds of things that you are going to see here, oh, wait a minute. I just realized you don't necessarily know who I am. Let me back up and tell you that. So I am Joshna Maharaj. I'm a chef, an activist, and author. Just wrote a book actually about rethinking food systems in public institutions. Most notably, I spent 2.5 years on the campus at Ryerson University rebuilding that food culture. So I have a very invested desire to reconnect students with better food and better food experiences, right? This is more than just filling the tank. And one of the things that I love to do the most is inspire people to get excited about food. I really do think that a better version of our lives is available to us with a deeper, richer connection to good food. And particularly at this point in our history and in this world where everything just seems so insane, I think that an anchor in good food is going to help everybody, right? It's going to soothe, it's going to nourish, and it's going to connect you all, because I am worried about how isolated you are from each other, from your people. And so part of this is my desire to really help connect you. And best case scenario, we can use good, delicious food to do that. So we will have, we have a few types of like learning bits. Obviously, recipes are a thing that will be everywhere all the time. But then I'm also going to do little videos where I'm actually going to head out to the market this weekend because the leaves are falling and the apples and the squash and all those glorious things are starting to fill the tables of the farmers markets. And I hope to catch little glimpses of the season or things that I'm excited about to share with you to get you excited about all of this too, because as we all know, or maybe you don't, local food and food that is in season is always the most affordable, right? It is extremely affordable. It is something that you can all pull off with your limited budgets. My thought is that what stands in the way sometimes is some skill and education about how to deal with ingredients and, you know, how to pull this all off. So that's what I'm going to hope to provide for you. So, well, one of the bits that we have created is an Ask Joshna section, which I am most excited about because I love answering questions. And so please know, once this launches, you will all be so heartily invited to ask questions, send in requests, because I can dream up any old thing I want to talk about, but I'm actually really interested in telling you about stuff that you're really interested in. So tell me what you want to know. And this is stuff like, what are the 10 things that I need to have in my pantry so that I can make good, quick, easy, delicious meals? Or, you know, what do I do with this random weird jelly that somebody gave me as a gift, right? All sorts of things like that is what you will see. So the Learn section will have recipes. It'll have just little notes and sort of blog post type posts from me. And then there will be a variety of videos. I don't know that we have necessarily confirmed how frequently we will change things, but I can confidently say that every week there'll be some fresh something up there for you to get excited about. And hopefully as time grows and we get to a point where we can actually meet each other in person, the Learn platform can really extend to recipe shares about things that we do together in real life, you know, with each other in a kitchen and that sort of thing. So you're going to see a lot of me. I'm very excited about all of this. And I really, really look forward to connecting with all of you. I think I will cruise into a lunch or two just to see what that vibe is and how it's all going and to say hello. So welcome to this, everyone. We are really, really delighted to share this with you. And now I think you're going to hear from some of these fantastic student facilitators. Thank you.
Well, sorry, just trying to slide. All right. Hi, my name is Alessandra. I am in my 3rd year in political science at the University of Calgary. My favorite food is IKEA veggie medallions.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Sanjana Sharma. I'm a 3rd year computer science student at Lakehead University. in Thunder Bay. And my favorite food is mango, which is questionable since I'm very much allergic to them. And what drew me to the project was that I got the opportunity to create space for students from my campus to connect with other students on a national level. So I guess I'm really interested in building a better student community.
Our next slide. Right. Food is connector and food builds community. So my experience with food and how I got involved with Meal Exchange was actually through a fair trade conference. So I actually presented with them at Canada's 8th National Fair Trade Conference, which was held in March of this year, the day before everything got shut down. And essentially, I really liked to see the intersectionality between food security and fair trade. So that is why food is important to me and how I got involved in the project. Sandra?
That's amazing, Alessandra. Why food is important to me, in simple terms, is because it reminds me of home. So back at home in New Delhi, India, we would share recipes and special dishes with our neighbors, and that was a great connecting point. And it was always so wholesome and so full of love. And my mother also started and ran her own food business for around 5 years, and I helped her cook that food and pack that food for hundreds of customers around in our city. And when I heard the feedback from those customers, I realized how lucky I was to get those fresh home-cooked meals from my own mother. So I guess I really started respecting the food that I ate and appreciating the very hard labor that goes behind producing and preparing that food. And now we're interested in hearing from all of you on why food is important to you. So we're going to break out into breakout rooms of around 2 to 3 people. And we will have 1 minute for that. And we will come back and kind of just share, if we want to, some of the points that came up from our conversations. So I guess we can go into our breakout rooms, Jamie. And we are back. I had the opportunity to talk to 2 amazing people. So if anybody wants to share what they talked about here in this space with everybody, please go ahead.
I can go. Yeah, so what we were talking about is just how important food is, like from a biological perspective. Just because if you don't have access to good food, your body is not going to be able to function properly, and you're not going to be able to do any of the other things that you want to do. Yeah, so that's kind of what we were talking about.
That's amazing. I totally agree with that. Thanks for sharing, Shanti. Alessandra, did you want to introduce the next breakout room session?
So for our next discussion, we're just going to discuss flaws within our current food system and changes that we would like to see. So when you're in the breakout rooms, you will have 3 minutes to discuss at least 2 flaws in the current food system and what changes you would like to see and how they could be implemented. All right, does anybody want to share like a flaw or a solution? No. All right.
Oh, sorry. Did someone else want to go?
No, you can go ahead, Shanti.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say a flaw and solution that we were talking about is the lack of education and awareness just about food and why good food is important. Yeah, so that was kind of the issue, and then the change was I guess, educating people on good food and why it's important and why it matters.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And because if we don't even have the education, especially for people who are new to the city or even Canada, um, they will never really understand why good food is important and why people prefer purchasing local and healthier food. And I think we need to try and break that pattern. I mean, I try to educate students on at Lakehead University, but it's still a long way to go. And I guess that also kind of brings up the point that we don't have enough representation of BIPOC in different meetings around food security. And this is something that we were talking about in the Social Justice Learning Circle launch last night. So yeah, did anybody else have any thoughts to share on that?
That's a really good point, Gabby. All right. Well, if that's all, we can move on to our next slide. Right. So with the pandemic has brought new challenges for everyone. It has forced us to change our ways of life while allowing us to look at things around us differently. I'm going to pass it on to Sanjana.
Thanks, Alessandra. So the challenges that they have listed here are just a few of the many that students have been facing since all of this started. And the GIF that just passed by on the screen, that's literally how I feel so often. Some of the challenges that we have been faced with are the transition to online learning has been a little hard, and the fact that we're not able to meet our friends and family as often or at all as we would like. And us having to cook every single day, like where do you get that inspiration and how do you feel motivated to cook all the time for yourself, you know? And we understand that. And I miss going outside as well. I get that. And internet can be such a chaotic place in this time when everything, literally every single thing has moved online. And it can be hard to understand where you belong in that online community. And that's why we're talking about the Communal Lunch Project. And I'm going to pass it on to Alessandra to kind of explain more on that.
So the Communal Lunch Project is our solution for, well, it's not really a solution, but it can mitigate some of these issues for the challenges that we are facing today. So the Communal Lunch Project, as already discussed before, it aims to provide students with a place where they can belong and connect over food. And for example, we have an online student community through Slack. So you can learn about our virtual lunch times there. We have our virtual lunches, as discussed before, the Learn platform, which will help a lot of us learn how to cook and learn how to store leftovers. And of course, there's always space for feedback.
So I guess they'll pass it on to Christina and Jacqueline.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina. I'm one of the project assistants. I'm at McMaster for social work. My favorite food, well, it depends on the mood. So what drew me to this project is that I truly believe in sustainable approaches to social issues, and I see a lot of sustainable talks in the chat, which is really great. I think the project really makes this happen, And I think what makes advocacy meaningful is human connection. So I'm really looking forward to sharing a meal with everyone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jacqueline McNeil. I'm studying applied human nutrition at Mount St. Vincent University, which is in Halifax on the East Coast. And I don't have a favorite food because I think it's totally impossible to choose. But that being said, I'm really partial to Korean cuisine. I love it. And one of the main reasons that I wanted to get involved in this project is because, when I first became a student and started attending university, I really changed a lot of my eating habits. I spent a lot of time eating on the go, eating in my car, eating alone. And it wasn't until I moved in with a roommate who wasn't a student, and they like really prioritized eating together and like cooking together. And so it was then in that moment that I realized how much my food habits have changed, but also how much I wasn't enjoying my food and like my meals as much anymore. And so to have that realization on my own and to be a part of a project that prioritized that for students is really great. And I'm just stoked that I can bring it to my campus, and hopefully if anyone has a similar experience, we can help them. So anyways, enough about me. Can we go to the next slide, Jamie?
So how our slides are going to work, we're going to ask a few questions that we want to know to help make the lunches as meaningful and impactful for all the participants. Everyone can engage either verbally or through chat. I will be engaging with whoever talks in the chat, and Jacqueline will be engaging verbally. So one of the questions is this your first time attending the Meal Exchange Summit? It's definitely my first time.
This is also my first time attending the summit.
Nice.
Too.
And what has motivated you to join the summit as well? In the next slide, Jamie's going to write down some of the responses for this question.
Lots of first times, second times.
I just had a question. How long has the summit been around?
That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer to that. Maybe
15 years rings a bell, but
15?
Yes, it went by a different name before that, but
Oh, okay.
yes, well, similar thing, but run through Meal Exchange. But don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Is this is the first time with an online, well,
Yes.
mainly online? Yeah.
Yes.
Have you done like online sessions before in the old ones or in the previous ones?
I don't think so. Yeah, so all new. So it's
Oh,
been,
but we've done online sessions during the year on other things, but not for Summit.
Cool. Yeah, did anybody feel like sharing their motivation for coming? It could be as simple as, you know, something new, or maybe this is a totally new kind of topic and perspective.
So I'm an international development student at Humber College. And so I study like lots of different issues around the world and like how they impact people's lives. And because I already volunteered at a food bank for a year, I already had this interest in food security and food access. this year I had the opportunity of working as a project coordinator for a community project that grows food in small pods. You can look us up. It's called Gardens Lakeshore. We have a website and we're very active on social media. So we grow produce to then donate to the community in an attempt to increase food security in our neighborhood. And we also provide them with like learning opportunities. So I'm very interested and I'm like somewhat active in this field. And I consider doing this in the future once I graduate. And I just thought this was a very great opportunity. I already connected with Brittany in the beginning of the year, I believe, because I really wanted to bring meal exchange to my campus, but then everything happened. So I'm still thinking on how like to stay connected. So this is like a great opportunity.
That's super awesome. I know it's so sad that, you know, everything had to really change. But that's really cool. Do you mind putting in a link to your, I forget what the name of it, but the link to your.
Oh, yeah. I'll put the link.
Awesome.
I'd love to hear some things that were said in the chat.
Sure. Christina, do you want to?
Yeah. So a lot about connecting with fellow students. The intersectional approach, and that's already written. It's a great learning space, and it's pretty motivating and refreshing and energizing to talk about these things.
Thanks, Gabby, for popping that in there in the chat.
And it looks like some of the participants are making connections already too, which is awesome.
Sorry, I was muted there. So I guess we're gonna transition to our next question. And this one, we're gonna do a poll. So our question is, what discussion topics would you be interested in exploring through the lunches? And the poll should pop up there. And so if there's anything that we missed, or if you have another idea, please feel free to pop it in the chat. Yeah, we're just really looking forward to seeing everyone's feedback, because we really, really want to, make this space for students, for their needs, for their wants, whatever they need. So your feedback is super greatly appreciated. Was everyone able to fill out the poll?
Not quite, but we could move it along.
It's all good. I don't mean to rush anyone. I just can't see.
I think I shared the results.
Great, I got it. So can everyone see the results as well, or is it just me? Okay. So it's really, if you can't see it, I guess I can describe it. So it looks like the most votes were for food system issues, environmental impact on the food system, unique food tips and tricks, and comfort foods. So that is awesome. Thank you everyone for giving us your input. Christina, was there any other suggestions in the chat?
Nothing new. So the next question is, again, we can respond verbally or in chat. What food knowledge or skills would you like to build through the Communal Lunch Project?
Joshna is excited to hear your responses to this one.
So we got some cool suggestions in the chat. One pot meals, cross cuisine meal ideas, budgets, reducing food waste, meal plans, vegan options.
All right, that's great. Thank you everyone for all your responses and engagement. We're going to pass it on to Hamani and Azreen.
Thanks, Jamie. Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Hamani. I'm a upper-year student in physical geography at Carleton University in the nation's capital. My favorite food is pumpkin pie. It's just that time of year. My favorite food changes, month to month, week by week, but just that time of year as fall begins, it's pumpkin pie, favorite childhood meal and whatnot. And how I got involved in this project is I was really interested in agricultural practices and farming practices as a student, and I actually was working for another nonprofit that was working locally on food and farming issues, and that's sort of how I got involved with like the larger issues of food security, of food systems, and the different aspects of it, and as well as just like what are the different barriers that each of the different groups are facing, whether it be young farmers these days, or those who are selling them, or at the restaurants, or those who are or the consumers, us, who are buying and feeding ourselves with it, or at the same time, how to find the food that are grown locally. So it's sort of from that I sort of got pulled into this project. Nasreen, introduce yourself.
Hey everyone. So my name is Asreen and I'm studying HR at George Brown. My favorite food is kidney beans with rice. Why I joined this program is because I love communicating with people, and it's like people have a hobby and I have passion about food. I love eating food. I have my proper 3 meals and 2 short meals in between. It's like a brunch and an evening snack. So since we've called this as a family meal, I'd love to meet you all on constant basis. So we'll be having a short poll in which you can select the timings, which are according to your needs and preferences. And I'd love to meet you all on regular basis. So you may select multiple timings. Jamie, please have a pool.
I just want to add to that, and just to say that there's no time zone thing that's indicated on this, and that's because we just want to see what times do people generally would, if they were to take part of it, what would seem most appealing. So we're gonna be having virtual meals across the country, and they're all going to be in different time zones. So there'll be options in terms of what works for people, and we just want to get an idea as to what people prefer. So we'll just give it a couple more seconds. You can choose as many as you'd like.
I'm going to share the results. I guess I'm the only person that's like an absolute grandma and wants to eat lunch at 11, but it's like 10:58 every morning and I'm like waiting.
It's all good, don't worry. I know there are times when eating early morning and then you're like waiting for that lunch hour to start. So yeah. Take a break from work and do it. Awesome. Totally. Just to let people know in case they haven't seen the poll results, but the general consensus is there seems to be a high amount that prefer evening times for having a virtual meal. The highest being between 7 and 8 with the 63%, but still slightly lower at 6 to 7 p.m. So it's actually, it's nice to see what when people would like to take the time out of their day to prepare some food and then come join a communal lunch. So thank you. Jamie, sorry, Serena, do you want to add anything else?
Oh, no.
Okay, so thanks guys. Jamie, if you want to.
Awesome. I'm just going to check the time. Oops. See what I can't see the time. That's okay. Screen sharing life. Awesome. So I'm just going to wrap things up. It was super great to hear from all of you student leaders, and I'm excited to see the folks in the room today. And I hope that these are events you're interested in getting involved in. As we mentioned, this is intended to be a student-informed and driven space. So we're going to try our best to get feedback along the way, whether you join one event or you come regularly. You're always welcome to give feedback into what this space should look like for students, because you know your student community best. And with that, I'll leave you with a couple of ways to stay involved. As I mentioned, unfortunately, the website's not quite up and running, but there's some ways that you can be in communication with us, and here you'll be the first to know when the website is launched. So we have an Instagram. It's linked in the slide deck if you have that open, but we can also share it in the chat. And then we'll also be starting, or we have recently started, a Communal Lunch Project Slack channel within Meal Exchange's student community Slack channel. So if you have no clue what I'm talking about, Meal Exchange has a Slack channel. Slack is a platform for kind of like instant messaging. And we have a channel that's open to students across the country throughout the year. So it's a really great way to keep in touch and to get in quick contact with the Meal Exchange staff as well. If you ever have a question about what we do, or have feedback, or really anything. So within this, feel free to join this specific channel and give us feedback on not only what you'd like these events and discussion topics to be like, but also the Learn section and how we can make that the best space for you. Yeah, so those are the two ways to keep in touch, and I really look forward to working with you all throughout the year, and want to thank all the amazing student leaders and Joshna and Jennifer for joining us tonight, and as well as all of you I know it's not easy, midterms are starting, and it's been really awesome to connect tonight. So thank you so much.